Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the First Issue Club. We are your weekly comic book podcast that guides you through some of the most important comics of the week, and that's first issues. They're your gateway and access point into new stories, adventure, and intrigue. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there's no better access point.
Agreed. Well, I'm Mike D, and with me as always are my co-hosts, Caitlin.
Hi.
Greg.
Hello.
And the Budget King.
Hello.
We got an obscene bounty this week, didn't we?
Our cup runneth over.
I found 7 first issues this week. Some first issues I could not find in my shop. There were even more buzzworthy first issues than we got our grubby mitts on.
Yep. Sorry, Source Point Press. We will not be covering you this week.
Source Point, you're hard to find.
We could not find
What
you.
was that book?
2 books they actually had number ones out.
Did you guys ask for them?
Yes.
Should we?
I'm shipping, there's something about a bug party, bug cookbook. Apocalyptic children getting cooked in there, and there's a bug cookbook.
What?
I may have butchered the name there, but
Sounds neat.
yeah.
Well, I think essentially what we're going to do is we all read these comics. The Budget King has a ranking of...
A definitive ranking, he said.
ranking.
He came in hard with that.
I did tell you guys that it is perfect.
So we'll count down to his favorite first issue of the week. I think all of us may have our own lists available and at the ready. So if you take extreme umbrage, you can challenge the king to his first issue throne.
I'm going to post our rankings on Instagram when this episode drops. You give me your lists, and I'll make each of us a post of our rankings. So you just won't get Budget King's hot takes.
I like that. You can only get my takes on the actual episode.
Per usual.
Yeah, people like me hearing my voice. We ready to get this podcast started?
Wow, like a dying train.
Number 7, the ranking that Budget King has, which is the official ranking, is Inkblot on Image Comics by Emma Kubert and Rusty Glad. This one should be unanimous, I would have to say.
As last? Because it wasn't for me.
No, me either.
So Inkblot is essentially a high fantasy, and there's a writer who is writing and blots out
a writer. She's the whole country's story, like, historian.
You're already writing it off.
You are gaslighting this review, might I add.
And she falls asleep and knocks her ink into a cat, and the cat has adventures.
Maybe we
The
read a different
cat
comic book.
has been conjured from a void realm, and the cat has all sorts of deeply magical and profoundly powerful powers that she's being kind of pulled through. And I think it's going to where
that part, but yes.
She's going to rise to be maybe one of the more powerful people in her family because she's always been overshadowed by them.
A couple things Caitlin said make the story really relevant to somebody who is coming from a family of hugely famous comic book writers. And she's...
Yeah, if you don't know the name Kubert, they're the Kubert School of comics that's advertised in a lot of comics. Her grandfather, I guess, started that.
Joseph.
And now Emma's trying to make her play at this, and there's just some commentary there. I think it's also kind of clever that you've got Ink taking you on adventures is also like a cute, charming nod to comic books and her family, right?
I would have liked this comic book more if Rusty Glad didn't explain to me that how they used to do comics was like this. The Marvel way was to draw them together and then put the words on the page. And I was like, no. Do I like food better because you tell me that it's the historic way to prepare it? No, it either tastes good or it doesn't. And so I didn't enjoy.
So
Back in my day, food was made and then we named it.
So the author's notes at the end ruined the whole book for you.
It put a fine point as to why the comic book was hard for me to follow. If it had no words, it actually would be really interesting and fun. The words to me were distracting, and so it was hard for me to follow. I'm not trying to like bash this book.
It's also towards the bottom of my list, but I would say that I also didn't hate anything that we read this week.
Oh, for sure. All these books were pretty top tier.
That actually made it a lot harder, is that there was nothing in this that I like had a vehement reaction to where I was like, that was bad. Inkblot, I'm sure there might, like, I think if you're a purist comic book person and you're looking for like the critique of a comic book, like you were mentioning, Caitlin and Mike D, Inkblot might be really fun. I was looking to be entertained.
I thought some of the dialogue, the inner dialogue and commentary was fun and engaging. So I did connect with some of it, even though it was written after it was drawn. I do feel like there's going to be a huge niche for people who want to follow the character of an inked out cat. Like,
I was like, yeah, cat fans are going to like this.
Yeah, for 100%.
Coming in at number 6, Grendel, Kentucky.
Oh man, I really like this book.
Same.
Though. I thought this book slapped hard.
Yeah, I had it high.
Did you have it high?
This is what Kid Rock's music should be. Is Grendel Kentucky. This is everything that I love about Ed Brubaker stories or Sean Phillips art. It felt like a Woodstock 99 version of an Ed Brubaker story.
Okay, that actually sells it to me.
It was like super slow and very genre.
Yes.
Which I think if you read it in between like two action comics, that it would seem very boring, right? But as like a slow burn, something you could imagine on television that might have some legs to go somewhere. Like, I love these sort of southern, middle of the country sort of tales.
Yeah, like Kentucky Fried Noir.
So
this looks like it was drawn on the back of a Waffle House menu.
That's
you know what I mean?
In the back, he says Southern Fried Beowulf.
Oh, okay. Fucking even better.
We didn't mention this. This is on AWA. This is by Jeff McCumsey and Tommy Lee Edwards.
No. This is on AWA Upshot.
Sorry. You're right. This is a sub-brand of AWA.
AWA has been out for a year and a half, and they already have an imprint.
And AWA, as we have mentioned many times on this show, formats their comics in a lot of ways to kind of be greenlit.
They're upfront about that.
Yeah, they're not.
They want these things to get turned into movies or television shows.
Yeah, so AWA might be good spec buys for anybody that cares about that kind of stuff.
Okay, so this is just the straight up synopsis,
Perfect.
so it might reveal too much, but for 2 generations, the rural town of Grendel, Kentucky has honored its Faustian bargain with the monster living in its abandoned coal mine. A human sacrifice every season in return for agrarian prosperity, the likes of which this rocky region had never before seen.
Okay. That doesn't sound like the comic I read.
No.
And then it says, when one town elder breaks this pact, Grendel's only hope is that its prodigal daughter will return home to face down the creature of her nightmares and bring her all-female biker gang with her.
Honestly, this is Sons of Anarchy with some lore.
That always ruins things for me when there's too close of a comp.
It is straight up Beowulf. So that it's a 4-part series and it's a retelling of Beowulf. And then the whole thing that you just read where they said like Faustian and all that kind of stuff, that it triggered me a bit because it was like, this is tipping its hat a little bit to like literary stuff in a way that's like, I always feel like homages should be subtle and like you could just find them. And if you have to be told like what it is in like reference to, it's like, oh, am I attending an art gallery show here?
I don't know who wrote
sure.
this review.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Yeah.
You're right, because I just found out that Clueless is actually based off like either a
Emma.
Shakespeare. Yeah, it's based off Emma. Yeah, and like when you hear that, you're like, oh my god. So the book I read, the first issue didn't seem too heavy-handed in its literary prowess, but that review that you just described. If I would have heard that before I read this book, I would not want to read this book.
Did you not read the editor's notes?
No.
Neither did I.
There actually was, after the editor's notes, I thought this was really cool. They did a fake newspaper that, like, it looked really, like, spot on and cool.
I liked it a lot.
And it, like, actually explained a lot in the story that didn't really make sense for me. Here was my main thing, too, and you guys feel free to disagree with me. I don't really need, right now, in this period of time, white, hick, southern stuff that doesn't make a commentary on the bullshittery of that behavior. Like
the privilege of
just being
their
like,
lifestyle.
like super white and like rural and
Mhm.
like hicky and stuff like that.
When we have had those stories told time and time again.
Yeah, like I feel like Southern Bastard, it knows that it's that, but then it's like it makes tons of comments about it and is like actually commentary on small town America.
Sure.
This is like, and Sons of Anarchy is more like, hey, do you know about the subculture over here where like people are Kid Rock fans but they're modern?
And also in this book, it's like there's
I love that.
like a symbiotic relationship between the people doing all these crimes and selling all these drugs and the people who are in law enforcement. And like that doesn't exist so much
Yeah.
outside of this bubble that's like, okay, I don't know that we should be highlighting that, but
You guys liked it a lot. Say some stuff about it.
Sometimes I just like those backwoods sort of stories that get into the lives of these people. I think to get some perspective on what it's like to be somebody who doesn't interface with the outer world
Mm-hmm.
is just like kind of interesting. They live in this microcosm that this weed dealer patriarch has created, right? And then his children have kind of escaped that clusterfuck of drug dealing,
Well, one of
family
them
bullshit, right? And then, but this draws everybody in his like web back, which just leaves room for a lot of tension or conflict or, you know, whatever to be worked out. But then to throw in the mystical element, this comic book starts with a guy wearing like 40 grenades, carrying 2 AR-15s.
He was in a bear suit. He's ready to throw down.
walking into a tunnel.
And so
and that's how he dies. And we don't know like what exactly got him, a demon or something.
but that was Clyde, right? That's the dad.
That's the dad.
Okay.
Mhm.
He's the patriarch of
And-
this family.
I thought going into it that this is like prepper shit. Like all like about like
Sure,
like,
okay.
Yeah.
like preppers, and then near the end when you find out it's like demon monster shit, I was like, okay.
Yeah, this was like if you read Briggs Land, this seems like
Yeah.
sort of a Briggs Land deal, but
Adjacent.
with supernatural stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I really liked Briggs Land.
I did too. Even though I think that guy's a shit.
Brian Wood, I think, wrote it. And
Yeah, he is a shithead.
Yeah, he's a terrible person, so burn your comics.
This comic was not bad. It just kind of compared to everything else. Some of the story were loose. It took me twice to read it, so I just felt like if we're just reviewing it in its complete like form, it needed a little bit of better editing.
It had just a heavy dialogue middle of just people catching up.
Mm-hmm.
So that pacing of it was maybe a little tough.
I love the style and I love the coloring, but some of the characters ended up looking a little bit the same,
Yeah.
which sometimes happens, that happens with every comic. So it's hard. It's hard to draw a bunch of white people make them look different.
That's my favorite take on this book. Yeah. All right, that's 6.
Okay. Number 5, we have Lonely Receiver on Aftershock by Zach Thompson and Jen Hickman.
I had this in a similar spot as you.
Same.
It's very similar to her, except instead of just an AI on a phone, you can grow AI organically. If you haven't seen her, a guy falls in love with the AI Siri that's on his phone, which is like hyper advanced in the future, and they're
That's the
sentient.
Joaquin Phoenix one?
Yeah.
Okay. I
It's a great
have wanted
movie.
to watch
And,
it for a long time, but I haven't.
Black Widow plays the
That's
voice
exactly right.
Oh, yeah.
Scarlett
yeah.
Johansson.
ScarJo.
of it. Yeah.
This book knocked me off my feet, aside from the fact that it just seemed derivative of her.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually, even though I could pull things that it seemed like whatever, it actually felt like noir horror. I had to keep on being like, oh, wait, this is in the future, though. And it just like on concept alone, it ranked higher because my criticism of this, and actually much like her in some ways, is like if somebody asked me, like, what is the rising action or the thing that needs to be accomplished or the arc? I don't know because we're just essentially just watching a relationship play out.
And I think that's probably what my biggest take on this was at all, is that it didn't really have anything to do with AI or sci-fi at all. It was more just somebody having to deal with the excruciating fear that they're going to have to work on themselves. They can't just depend on somebody to love them forever unconditionally. And when that goes wrong, as it has gone wrong before for them, really just battling inner demons. Like, you even see her journal entries toward the end, and it's like riddled with insecurity.
They were great.
Yeah.
This was definitely like one of the more thought-provoking comics I've read in a while.
And it's scary. It doesn't leave you feeling good.
No, it does, and it felt like high art, like a novella, because of those pieces in the end. Like, you read them and then you figure out more. And so I think like reading it like a traditional indie comic doesn't really work, because I think that it's like it's more about observing this relationship, and I hate, this is like a dumb thing to say, but it's almost like a non-linear thing. Like, it's like you're just gonna watch this unfold like you would like an art house movie, not necessarily like a rom-com, obviously, but like, or a horror movie. For the ad, like whatever they're called, they write about the product, and then they have like her journal. Those things alone helped it get really high in my rank.
They were great world-building things.
Yeah.
I prefer stuff like that over letters to the editor.
Letters.
Letters.
Letterers to the editors.
Quite a bit, just because they add so much like color and texture to the world when they're done right.
And I don't want to hear, like you said earlier, like somebody compare it to other great things,
Tell you
great
why
works
it's awesome.
of art.
Yeah.
I just want to see that you've put some serious thought into this, building it out, and how it can like relate and connect.
We didn't
to the
even
reader.
mention this, which I think is at least worth mentioning. The relationship is two women, which is really cool.
And they're
as well.
both like nude half the book. That was something that I kept noticing. Like, this is unabashedly just like, these are their bodies.
Yeah.
They can be arguing and nude. They can be having sex. You know, it was just like,
so about that,
this is
did
them.
your comic book have the nipples and vagina blurred out?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
On some of them.
well, just on her.
I thought
just
I
on
bought
the
like a
robot.
G-rated comic.
Well, they don't have them blurred out on the other girl.
Just the robot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
yeah.
that's because it would be like, what would you make those look like? And I'm not really sure.
Whatever I wanted.
They had one of the I made a note of this. They had one of the best art of fellatio that I've ever seen in a comic book.
I
It was
believe
that was a beautiful scene, actually.
But it wasn't. Isn't it technically not fellatio if it's a woman?
Conolangus.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think so.
Didn't know. You
because
educated
it's a phallus.
Yeah,
You're
conolangus is when you're on lady parts.
A
Fellatio is
tongue, a
when
tongue
you're
was on the vagina,
female parts.
and it was owned by a woman. Both.
The tongue and the vagina.
Yes, tongue and vagina.
Not the same woman. That would be a feat.
If you don't know, that's a way to pleasure a woman.
So I can't remember exactly what they called this, but there's this, maybe it was called Eden or something. There's this
the
like
garden.
the garden.
Yeah.
That's right. This like in between zone, like between
yeah.
like VR and reality and back end coding, where users can like escape to this void. They
They
spend
like fell out of it one time too, didn't
Yeah,
they?
they're like surrounded in like green, like it's like a green aura you're
yeah.
It was a
Right.
surreal like read.
in, aka the sex zone.
Okay, and so in the
you're
sex
nasty.
zone, it seems like a monster or glitch or error in the system is born out of this, and that thing is sentient. That was kind of like the stinger at the end of this book.
And that really is that's probably the narrative arc that we need to be following, but it was done so subtly
Yeah.
that like I had a hard time even understanding what they were referencing.
Well, the
And-
relationship stuff was so powerful, it was hard to focus on anything else.
And from the notes, you kind of, or maybe it was from one of the synopses, like, you're made to understand that her phone has died along with this person at the end. So she has nothing. Like, how it goes into what the phone does for you. Like, she has no money anymore. She has no identity. And she's just got this weird thing that's come out of the garden with her. I don't even know if anybody else can see it.
Right.
Like, it's just going to be kind of odd.
This is one of those comic books I would flag to look for the trade.
Yeah.
That I would be like really excited to just see where it unfolds. It's definitely pushing some limits.
I read all 7 of these books in a night, and unfortunately, this one was the last book I read. And so I think I did myself a disservice because I had
You can't-
already experienced reader fatigue.
I think there's something
You
to be
can't
said
read this
for
one
that.
sleepy though either.
No, you got to be in it to win it. So I think I'm going to reread it tomorrow and see where I.
What were you gonna
put
say
it in the
about like
ranking.
what's
I read Grendel last, and I didn't. That was the one I liked
Oh,
the
okay.
least. I don't know if that has reader fatigue. Probably does have something to do
Yeah.
with it.
that was Lonely Receiver. Good job, Zach Thompson and Jen Hickman.
I mean, listen to how much we liked
Mm-hmm.
Lonely Receiver. Like, that just goes to show you how like top tier the first issues were this week and why we just wanted to like hit all of them.
Yes.
These next ones were really hard, and we probably are going to debate them a little bit. At number 4, I have Black Widow by Kelly Thompson.
Artist Elena Casagrande.
I would have given this the best art of the week. This is a different take on Black Widow that reminded me a bunch of Archie comics.
How so?
I think that this is Black Widow's like love life, and like she's a popular girl and doing her popular girl things. That's how I read it in a really cool way. Like it felt
kind of like breezing through the world, doing all these amazing things and amazing everyone around her, and then just being like, I love my life.
in
Well,
this
if you were
type
a
of thing.
super assassin and
But she
had
doesn't
just like a
even
normal
know.
job, people would be like, whoa, fuck.
Yeah.
it was the same way that like Kelly Thompson, when she did Sabrina, took a different look at Sabrina's like life and wasn't like all witch based. And I feel like she pulled Black Widow out being like, she's a babe that has romance, and like, isn't that interesting? Because she's also a deadly Russian assassin. And like that.
But you've seen her do like all these cool flips and kicks and stuff, but you haven't seen her be at peace and in a domestic situation.
Yeah, and I will say too, Black Widow is not a book that's on my radar where I'm like, let me see where Black Widow's at, unfortunately. But this, I was like, I could get into this book. Like, I could be into it.
I've read the last few runs of Black Widow stories, and I just loved how much this hit with her personality. Because really, you do just see like spy thrillers with her, or that's generally the sort of stories that people want to tell. You know, it did start with like action and intrigue, right? And then to smash cut that right to her having a life and a personality was great.
And one of the, sorry I'm talking so much, but one of the cool things that really amazed me is that action sequence is mostly about how she's technically fighting with Hawkeye, who was a love interest of hers at one point in time. And then you flash back to like, Hawkeye's not the love interest. So it's even about the like soap opera-ness, even though it's about
Between
action.
him and like Bucky too, where they're like,
Right.
When'd you see her last?
Soap opera is the word I was looking for. This feels soap opera-ish in all the best ways.
I think it's worth noting too that she's in sort of, even though she's in this sort of like domestic bliss situation, she's also being watched and definitely has been put there with no memory of who she was before. So there's that ominous tone, but like you kind of wonder how long are they going to let that play out? What's the purpose of keeping her in that situation instead of just taking her out? It's very interesting.
So Arcade is the bad guy here. He's a sometimes goofy villain if you're not familiar with him, where he orchestrates games, as his name would lead you to believe, to like, you know, make bad guys or good guys kill each other or some sort of scenario like
He's also
that.
the director of the movie The Game.
What?
Arcade directed the game. He took a break from being a Marvel
You just
superhero
really
for a while.
always wanted to work with Michael Douglas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big fan of Michael,
Yeah.
MD. And he made the movie The Game.
Speaking of cunnilingus, Michael Douglas. I'll just drop a bomb here and say, it was my favorite book of the week.
It was.
It was.
I will
Hey.
absolutely not argue with that. And I kind of thought that might be your book of the week.
Yeah.
Is it
I'm a big Marvel head,
because
so.
that's what I was gonna say?
Yeah.
If you're really into Marvel and have been following, because they referenced the Black Widow storyline that happened previous to this, where Winter Soldier and Black Widow were off doing adventures
Yeah.
and left Hawkeye
Right.
at home.
So these, I think Marvel comics always have an unfair advantage to me because they're not really first issues.
Yep.
It's a continuation of a story that I already love.
Yep.
And then the first issues are like premiere ones of those.
So I read this book through once, and I was just like, huh. And then it took me a minute to be like, wait a minute. You know that was a Black Widow book. That wasn't just like a cool, like fun romance book or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love doing something like that with the Big Two book.
Kelly Thompson is we could call her a fan of the podcast.
A friend of the podcast, not a fan.
Yeah.
We can't go so far.
That's a good point, actually. Okay. Coming in at number 3. Now we're in the top
Top three.
Top
Number 3.
We only find them when they're dead.
That was only
Wait.
number 3?
This is by Al Ewing and Simone DeMeo.
DeMeo?
I don't want to get that name wrong because they are an amazing artist and they deserve me saying their name correctly. But this is, I believe, and I could be wrong on this, I believe this is Al Ewing's independent debut. He is obviously...
Wow, is that true?
I can't think of another independent book he did.
Not off the top of my head, I can't either.
I could be wrong. He is obviously a ton of fame for all the Marvel stuff, especially Immortal Hulk that he's doing right now.
What a concept, too. This just blew my mind.
For me, it gets so high marks on concept alone. I could explain it in kind of like a couple sentences. Caitlin, I don't know if you want to just read the description or not.
I will read parts of it because it's kind of long. Captain Malik and the crew of the Vihan 2 harvest the only resources that matter from the giant corpses of alien gods found on the edge of human space. No one has ever seen a living god, but Captain Malik is obsessed with being the first.
This is Pirates ER hunting dead Galactuses.
It's like Firefly and some of the like edge verse politics and society from Star Wars, like kind of rolled up into one with this like massive dead god just floating in space.
And they have to like, it's surgical, it's medical.
Yeah.
They have to like their ships have like
They're all
surgical
autopsy
saws.
ships.
Yeah. And cut out like their flesh of these giant Galactus looking gods. Or Galactus-sized gods.
It was so weird to read something that was so embedded in like government law enforcement and like you were saying, the medical side of things.
Yeah, people are really like science fields. They're really wanting jelly this year, so we need to go for the eye. Well, everybody's going to go for the eye, so we need to make sure that we're not going to get in a bidding war. Like,
and that's like the pirate
and,
nature of it. Yeah,
like everyone has normalized that it's just this god, just dead, floating in space.
It actually
loses its like awe.
It has a little bit of like Repo Man vibe to it.
Yes.
Yeah, like organ trading. The only reason why it didn't get my number one is that this felt like a 0, which we've said about comics before, where it was like a prelude or a prequel
I would agree with that.
to the comic, because the cliffhanger is essentially that they're going to go off on their own and hunt living gods, which the whole concept of this comic in existence is that they carve up dead gods. And so just to lead up to that felt like I got a bunch of backstory to go on the adventure. Which
and
isn't
not
bad.
only that, but it's like incredibly dangerous, right? Because you see one of the ships, just by going after something they didn't claim, get just obliterated.
Which
everybody died.
Another layer of heaviness to the story is that the person who obliterated the ship breaking the law is the person who killed our captain's parents because they were breaking the law. That's why their ship name has a 2 in it. Because he was going to inherit their trade, right? So he had to get another ship.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed that. Is that why they got killed? It's because they were trying to do essentially the same thing that these other pirates were killed for? They were trying to
get away with
escape
something.
with more materials than they had been allowed to take.
Or maybe they were trying to pull off the move that he's now again trying to do.
Find a living god.
I love when stories make bureaucracy interesting.
Sexy.
Yeah. Or like fun or adventurous and stuff.
You got to do it with like a Captain Phasma type though, right? Like I feel like that's who she is. Like this one woman like killing machine in
Captain
her own
Phasma
ship.
is a really good comparison to who she is.
I hope they go into how these gods die. You know what I mean? Like maybe just a little bit of just like...
Or why they're just showing up when they're dead.
It's
like
such an Al Ewing thing to be like...
Do they get like alerts on their phones? It's just like, oh, we got a new dead god.
Even
they do, 'cause
even
they
the
have to
title
measure
gives
time.
you explanation to the story.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, we only find them when they're dead. Oh, weird. Okay. That tells me a little bit about
All
this
right,
book.
sure. The only time I've seen a book with the name of it twice on the cover.
That I was going to actually point out. I think, okay, what Greg is pointing out is that the A cover is very graphically done. I don't think you're going to see this on every issue, but they have it's just giantly written there.
And then it's in the upper right-hand corner, so super tiny.
Which I'm wondering if that was just... There was 7 covers for this. And so
Okay.
if they were just printing... Oh, no, because the B cover's a virgin, actually. So I have no idea why they did that. Accidentally got a booger on one of the pages.
No.
Is that the Jenny Frislin?
No.
Okay.
No, her cover was
I was
like
gonna say
so
it didn't look
expensive,
like
too.
hers.
I think that was like a $50 cover.
We should
Okay.
keep on mentioning this because this is one of those things. This is one of those boom books that sold out before it hit the shelves that everybody's excited about. Boom is just like absolutely killing it. They're going to be the Yankees of the independent comic book world. I'm calling it right now.
Boom is?
They have so many hits. Like Something is Killing the Children. Like all of those like things that just like blow up. Like I hear way more about Boom than I do Image these days.
It's an interesting take.
I do hear less about Image than I hear about other indies coming up.
I mean, I know
More and more.
Image is like gargantuan in size, but Boom has like select picks.
Much like the Yankee organization.
Maybe
Image has way more at bats
Well, let's say this. Oh, here's the better.
to have the same amount of hits.
They got that name clout. Everybody
They're-
wants to go to Image.
and everybody on the podcast is going to understand this reference. They're the 2013 Royals in that their farm league is coming to roost.
That's Image or this is Boom?
Or is that Boom?
Boom.
Okay,
Okay.
that's Boom, sure.
Good job, Al. You did it again. Are we good on that book? Artwork was insane. The coloring alone was it reminded me of Isola a little bit, like just so like
Looks like movie stills.
yeah, and just like to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of comics drawn like this. Like it just felt like different in a really good way.
I think to your point though about it being a 0, I do need to see where they're gonna go with it.
Yeah.
It's not something I can be like immediately sold. I think just based on the fact that Al Ewing is writing it, it's gonna go somewhere good. But I do want to see because you just don't know. There's not enough.
Honestly, if I didn't know who the writer was, this book might have been a little lower on my list.
I completely agree on that.
Yeah. Just because not a lot happened in it.
Well, I don't know if you guys kept on reading Isola. The art alone sustained it. That could be with this book if it wasn't Al Ewing. The art alone is pretty sustainable. Okay, for now, my number 2, which completely surprised me, to be honest. Spy Island, a Bermuda Triangle mystery, which is by Chelsea Kane and her whole crew. New York Times bestselling because of Maneaters, coming out with another debut comic book about an island, a spy island that has mystery and intrigue in it in the Bermuda Triangle. Phenomenal. I loved it, and I didn't think I would. And here's why I didn't think I would. This might get second best comic book of the week. It gets worst cover of the week, and all of the Maneater covers are god awful. The series is amazing, but holy shit, their covers are so bad. Well, I'm sorry to say that. But.
One thing that's just odd is using real life photography and textures with illustration is just such a unique style. So it definitely pops off of the shelf at you, but it just doesn't sit well in your brain, I guess. It's like they don't look like they should go together.
It works on a novel. It just doesn't work for me on a comic book. And so when I saw this on previews, I was like, nah, pass.
Like the images that they use in the book itself or the cover specifically?
Just the covers. Image, artwork,
Because
amazing.
I feel the same. Like the real images they used within the book, I feel like highlighted to it, even though it made you feel like it was a little out of place. But yeah, I agree. When I saw this cover, I was like, not gonna like this.
No.
Well, don't you think it's just like harkening back to those dime store like beach reads you get, like those little tiny.
Which is perfect for this story.
It looked like an AWA cover to me, which
Man, you are dunking on that. I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest.
But okay, regardless, and why we would go deep on the cover doesn't matter because it got number 2. It was a great comic book. I don't know if you guys want to speak on it or say anything else about it.
I loved it so much.
I liked it. It was the last comic on my list.
Aha.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Interesting.
I think the concept is great. I love that, like...
Wait, you ranked it like number 7?
It's number 7 on my list.
Oh.
I love that...
Offended. So offended you are.
I love that this island is obviously a place where, like, dirtbags go to, like, peacock and flock. So it's, like, the best place for spies to just live and wait for morons to come to them. Like, that's such a good concept for a book. But my thing was, I just didn't know why I cared about anybody or, like, where the story was going. I just know that they're, like, spies. This, again, was another one that maybe felt like a 0 issue where it was like, here are some people. What are they going to do together? What are they going to do separately? What are their motives? Like, some of that I just didn't get from this. So I was like, I don't know what to take away.
I get that. I think for me, what really grabbed me was like, or why I guess if I was gonna defend it, is that we jump into action,
Yeah.
like super fun. So I never lost interest, which is always high marks for me. And then the way that they like truly play up the Bermuda Triangle,
It's like a zany place.
zany. Yeah, definitely doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
And also like mystical and mysterious. Like there's monsters and shit and it's totally just the norm. And that's not the focus of the story. I think is a hard book to write and makes it really fun.
Well, and the other key piece of the reason for her being there, along with some of these other adventurers and secret organizations, is that they're all kind of racing in this war to find these relics and to kind of mine the mysteries from the triangle. So it's really like, it is kind of hobnobbing, but it's also like got a very sinister, like, we all have to get these things. We got to figure out who has them or how I can get them first. And then there's the whole layer with the mermaids and her sister.
It felt like a better version of Assassination Nation. That I don't know if you guys read that. Like
It felt like maybe that, but also with Clue.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
And then some of the characters are like, it's like Umbrella Academy in that like one is just a mime and then one is like a skull face.
Yeah.
But you treat them as a normal character and like
One
that's
is
very
just named
distinct.
like Doug.
yeah, that's a way to
that's
steal
just
my heart
Doug.
if when you like do like that weird shit like that. I don't know. I
And
really
you have like all these people in a room, but then you have somebody who's representing the IRS's interests in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
Like the layer of like
and
humor and
Maneater
irreverence.
Maneaters is a phenomenal book. It's awesome. But it felt like the Chelsea Kane crew, like it was the book they were born to make. Like it was commentary on feminism and just in an amazing way. For them to write a book that's like not derivative of that at all in any way and is like completely just amazing, I'm just like, holy shit, this is kind of a powerhouse here. So
Even the commentary with the mermaids, like being like, we don't know all there is to know about mermaids yet. Please help us spread the word and change the social norms about how we're interacting with them.
Yeah, they're treated like an endangered species.
like great white sharks or something
Yeah.
like
And then
that.
you see them and they're terrifying. They're not at all what you would expect from like mermaid lore. Well,
Right.
some mermaid lore, but like,
I wasn't.
Yeah.
The book is written so well that when they brought in the concept of mermaids, I just couldn't tell if it was a joke yet or not. Like if there actually was mermaids, or if they were just like if it was like a Disney World thing and they were like all in
Like a
on this
tourism.
joke that I didn't understand. Yeah.
mhm.
I loved that. You go through this entire issue with them referencing stuff like that, and then it's not until like one of the final pages of the book where you see everyone getting off of the ship for the week. Like the cruise line is pulled up and everybody's piling out of it, and there's like demigods and gargoyles and like all kinds of things in
And
the
then
crowd.
tourists.
Yeah, and then just like normal tourists, and you're just like, whoa, this is fucking crazy. I want to emphasize again, I liked every single book I read this week, but I think the abstractness of like what their goal was just something I need a little more of. I'll certainly buy the second issue of this, and I'm sure we'll get a lot more motive, and this will probably be like, the second issue will probably be like killer for me.
It kind of, I think I figured it out. What you were saying and what we were trying to figure out, like what it reminds me of, is it reminds me a little bit of Private Eye in just the look of it and how just the sheer amount of people that are involved in the story at once. The kind of wackiness of all the characters that are involved.
It didn't take itself seriously, but also had a very serious, like, fun storyline to follow, which is like something I think that's something I just really like a lot.
I love how casual our lead was about just like, I killed someone today.
I may need your help with
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
Yeah, let's go have
And then,
sex.
yeah, and then he's like, I'm bored, wanna fuck.
Oh, I loved the casual sex part. I was just like, oh, they're fuck buddies.
Well,
they're
if you're
stuck
trapped on an island,
yeah.
goddamn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good rope. Friends with Benefits is always a storyline I'm gonna.
He did
be
look
into.
sad. He woke up when she left.
He
You
caught
never know.
feelings.
And then he also there was like a subtle James Bond reference because he had British underwear.
Yeah. With
Sure,
the
yeah.
picture of the queen or what
Yeah.
was it? Somebody like a giant portraiture
Which
behind
is now
him.
interesting that it's like everything he probably says is done in an English accent, but I didn't read it that way, which is funny to think about. Yeah.
I personally hate when we're too
They-
heavy-handed
too
with
Britishy.
writing in an accent.
Same. Yeah.
So I also love we may have mentioned this a little bit, but just the fact that all the spies end up at the fundraisers that are held on the island because it's just a breeding ground for shitheads who are wealthy and brag when they
And
get
drunk,
drunk.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like Lead City. And it's just like filthy with spies. Like I thought that was like so fun.
The other thing that I was not gonna like about this book is I thought it was a 1 in 4, which I am not a huge fan of 1 in 4s. They just kind of, I don't know. I don't really get them.
Just do a trade at that
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, just and people have done that and it seems better to me. I don't think it is a 1 in 4. So even though I ranked it as high thinking it was a 1 in 4, and I don't even think it is.
I would be saddened to hear that it was a 1 in 4. I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lot there.
Cool.
Because it could even be like a fun romp of the week type scenario where they go and get this one thing.
Oh
and
yeah,
it, like builds.
they could do arcs. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're gonna find out more about this zany world. Coming in at number 1 on DC's Black Label is Hellblazer: Rise and Fall by Tom Taylor and Derek Robertson. This took me by surprise a little bit, and I think that I mainly got so high for a couple of reasons. One, DC Black Label is back, baby. This book earned Black Label.
Yes, you're 100% right. This
Where-
is the sort of things I would expect to see on an imprint that's like our serious, gritty stuff.
Yeah, we got kids smoking cigarettes, which is that's dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got lots of gore, lots of straight up guns in the face, blood, like just bursting out at the seams, bloody blood. Is John Constantine always gay? Because I'm gonna
He's
be,
fluid.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be mad if that's just a Black Label thing that they were like, oh, and now we can make him gay. Okay,
No, he's
that's-
fluid.
that's
He
good.
doesn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I like that about him. So the main thing that I loved about this for me is it reminded me of like a 90s like Transmetropolitan or even, which I know is an easy reference, Sandman comic in the way that 90s comic books really found their gritty footing. I don't really like John Constantine just being like, I'm like guy who smokes in every like panel. Like I've never been a huge
Like a
fan.
know-it-all in the background.
Yeah.
I do hate sometimes when you're reading a comic and then like you see
A puff of smoke.
a puff of smoke in the background and then he walks out of the shadows and you're like, oh, here he
Yeah,
goes.
fuck.
It's like
Here's
the
John.
Oh,
Smoking
fucking
Man and
John.
X-Files.
I feel like that was like every single comic of Justice League Dark. Which is like, oh, cool. Great reference. Thank you.
Neato.
But it's a cool crime story in like all the best ways. Oh, and it gives his backstory in a really like cool way. He's born essentially like an autistic child and his mom instantly dies. I don't mean to be flippant about autistic, but he has like no emotions and they're like kind of worried about it. It shows like his abusive father, how he like fucked over his friends through trying to like do like a demonic ritual that like ended up killing one of his friends. Like it gets dark really quickly and then quickly brings him into like who he is now. So you get like this understanding of John Constantine and then you get this crazy like crime scenario. And it was just from start to finish so fun to read.
Tom Taylor back doing what he does best, bringing dead characters back as undead characters.
Tom Taylor has proven himself to be a cash cow for DC.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Like DC's.
Yeah, if you guys
he
don't know,
did Seven Secrets, right?
Yeah. Did he do Seven
Yeah,
Secrets?
he did.
And he's
That's
doing.
because you had a hard on for Seven Secrets.
I wouldn't say a hard on. I definitely liked it. But I mean, he's just proven himself to be a phenomenal writer, time and time again.
This comic is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It I loved it. Obviously, I put it as my number 1. But if that type of like era of Frank Millery 90s comics is your thing, this is like it but better.
Because it's not done by Frank Miller.
Right, yeah. Like 90s Ninja Turtles were really cool. This is like that but better.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like that's high praise coming from you.
it is, yeah. It was really good. It was insane. Like I don't know. I was surprised. Yeah.
There's also like this really interesting murder spree that seems like a Criminal Minds episode or something. Like someone sewing wings to the dead bodies of the 1% and like dropping them from the sky.
Huh.
Sweet.
You're not totally sure if that has anything to do with this kid he killed when he was younger, but that kid is back and looking for some form of vengeance.
Yeah, he's dead and walking around.
And he's
no.
like a master of like karate or something. He's like flipping around a dude and like snapping his neck. I was like, oh shit, kid's got skills.
And then like a really like lovable character dies in a very like surprising way.
And times in 2 weeks. Wow, rough
Damn,
month
Gaggy.
for Gaggy.
Gaggy, see you later. I think I have a tendency to just pick an independent book as my number one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was giving it a little bit more points for being like so lovable and interesting and being one of the big two.
Do you think it being in like a prestige format helps with that at all? It maybe has like an unfair advantage because you're reading this like massive thing.
100%.
I mean, it's gorgeous. They put like beautiful spot gloss on the cover.
Mhm.
Like it's so big that it feels like important, like it's been in the works for a long time. Like
I'm reading the Bill of Rights.
there's like a little bit of like gravitas to
Well,
like what you're reading. in
I haven't
those
read
books.
a bad Black Label book. Superman was not great,
Superman Year One. Is that what it was
yeah.
called?
Yeah.
but they've been doing great stuff with Black Label. I also read it digitally, and it felt like reading a trade.
So you didn't get the unfair advantage
there
of
you
like
go.
seeing it like large
Still
anyway.
works.
No, yeah, it just felt so long.
Yeah.
So they did so much with the story, which that is an unfair advantage
Mhm.
to all of these other books, is that it essentially was two of the rest of the other books.
Yeah.
Some of these zeros would have been
Oh my
full-on
God.
ones.
Full on ones.
I think if yes, Spy Island or We Only Find Them When They're Dead were beefy,
Oh,
I would have.
easily number one.
Oh my God, those would have killed for me.
Which
Wow.
Such a packed and stacked week.
We did it.
it's crazy, yeah. We
What a
should
marathon.
release more number ones, comic book
I
world.
feel like we were gonna fight you more. We didn't. You did a really solid
I
job.
want to like tell me more about your list now. Like in the end of this, I'm curious like how your list differed, even though we're gonna post them on social. Should we do that now or not?
You can.
I had Spy Island as my last book. Barely edged out. This was the one that I had like the hardest time
I
with.
cannot like think
was
about that.
Inkblot.
You
Yeah.
put that below Inkblot.
I didn't have much of a problem with
I
how
didn't-
Inkblot was
I
written.
didn't
It seemed
either.
like a fun fantasy. I loved the dynamic of her family, of the like being all these like popular, famous, prestigious people, and she's this like underling. But now,
Can't leave the library.
You know the write what
but-
you know kind of thing.
totally.
You like what you know? Is that the thing?
come
If
from.
in a year you can recall the name of this comic book, I will pay you.
I
20
may
bucks.
not.
I'll
I
pay you.
can't. I can't recall names of books that I really loved from past episodes either. So that may not be a great barometer.
Okay.
But
That's good. Yeah.
All right, Inkblot was my number 6. I'm afraid to say this one. Hellblazer was my number 5. Lonely Receiver was 4. Then Grendel, Kentucky.
Nice.
We Only Find Them When They're Dead, and Black Widow.
I like respect that. I can see why you would put Hellraiser so low.
That's what I
Like,
think we're gonna
also-
run into. All these books were great.
Yeah.
So it's really just reflection of personal
Yeah.
And
likes.
like
That's a-
we were
that's a great
saying
point.
early on, too, maybe some of it just had to do with
When you read
When you read it,
them.
yep.
Right? Isn't that crazy to
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I gave these letter grades, and they're all like B+, A-, A, B, B-. Like, they're all like so close to each other.
Yeah.
And I think partially too is expectations. Like I was full on ready for
Hellblazer.
for Hellblazer and Spy Island to be bad, and so that like when they exceeded my expectations, I was like, "Ooh, this needs to be really high."
Yep.
I kind of thought Black Widow with Kelly Thompson would be good.
Mm,
I thought an Al Ewing independent book would be phenomenal.
right.
So
There was so much hype for me for We Only Find Them When They're Dead that it probably never could have met my full expectations for what it was going to be. Because I'm measuring like what I know about him from like an entire series of Empire and in like a long Avengers event and Immortal Hulk. Like you can't do all that in one comic.
I'm gonna save my countdown because I haven't read Hellblazer,
Yeah.
and
mine's-
I think I need to reread the one about the AI romance again.
no, it's okay. Take out Hellblazer and let's hear your countdown.
Okay, so number 7 would be Inkblot, and then Lonely Receiver, and then it would be Spy Island, Black Widow, Grendel, Kentucky, and then I really, really liked We Only Find Them When They're Dead. I think that has the most sturdy legs to go off for a series. And it's a boom thing, you know. They're like I don't think I've really heard this take, but they're the New York Yankees of kind of the publishing world.
That would actually hurt my side.
You've never heard that take before?
No, I just came up with it.
Yeah. I like it.
Through the ether. It's just kind of.
That might be a take I would resonate with.
Mine was last was Grendel. Then 6 was I didn't read Hellblazer either, so this will be missing that.
Yeah.
6 was Black Widow actually. 5 was Lonely Receiver. 4 was Inkblot. You can make fun of me all you want.
Oh man.
3 was We Only Find Them When They're Dead. And wait, I think I was going in 7.
Sure.
So that was 2 was We Only Find Them When They're Dead, and 1 was Spy Island.
We're pretty close. That's Caitlin and I normally like the same books, except for Inkblot.
At least Mike D shared that
And
non-hatred
Mary Shelley
of it with me.
Frankenstein.
Y'all
we
can
go.
have those.
Yeah, we can go out. We can die on our Mary Shelley Inkblot
I think
hills.
that just means we can spot them better than most.
You can spot what?
Books that'll sell.
Oh
we should be
God.
movie producers.
Oh,
We should
boy.
be stock. They should we should be stock comic stuff. And then
Yeah.
Greg and Budget King should be like, is this comic book gonna sell? No, it ain't.
No. Have you seen this thing? No.
No, get that out of
Put
here.
a J. Scott Campbell cover on it, then we'll talk.
Bye. Sell. I would love to walk into a comic book store and just get that kind of respect. Oh, that's
You
the guy.
should do-
That's the
that's
guy.
You should
that
dress up like Gordon Gekko. Just,
start smoking.
yeah.
Just throw receipts.
Not
everywhere.
only that, why not take the show on the road? Do it at cons.
We walk around with empty briefcases.
I can't even believe you have that comic book.
Bad. You might have something here.
My God. Double bag this.
Double bag it.
Wait, okay. I would love.
Is that a T-shirt already for comics?
I would love to walk down Artist Alley with all the aspiring comics and just be like, nope, nope.
Just like
Crash.
handing them a card if it's something that you really like. Like I can make
Take
you
a real
star.
Sharpie to each of their Nope. Try again. No, thank you.
We look like the Monopoly man.
Here comes Irville and Orville.
Or you're just like frazzled Wall Street people with like your shirt, just like you're sweating and smoking.
and just doing tons of lines
Yeah.
of coke.
Yeah.
We're rich.
We can make you famous.
I parked my Tesla behind you.
If we do cocaine recreationally, we rich, baby.
This was actually my plan. I was doing a dance called They're Gonna Call Me Rich Man. Yeah, recently my mother passed away and I got a lot of food out of it. And so I decided that I'm not gonna be buying food for the next 2 weeks, and subsequently the money I was budgeting for food is gonna go into my bank account. I'm gonna be rich man.
Yeah. Just take the extra food and sell it on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Make extra coin.
Yeah. It's my big plan.
Day old lasagna.
I already-
Only $10.
I already have a down,
I think it's good.
I already have a down payment on a Tesla from all the
It has peas? Question mark.
A lasagna with peas in it? Ooh. That may be a
User-
casserole.
User is poorly rated on Marketplace.
There's always an opportunity.
The only catch is you have to eat it with me.
Man, I've had a bad week.
Yeah.
Pull up a chair.
Hey, brother, let's warm up this lasagna and talk it out.
Right? Do you have the $15?
Yeah. Before you sit down.
All right, let's chow.
Where's that scratch?
You just gave me a bulk jambalaya that'll do for 3 days. And that puts an extra $30 in my bank account, and I'm well on my way to being rich.
That's how money works.
Did you say that to everyone who brought something?
Yes.
Thank you. That's another $30 I'll be saving.
You fucking rube.
I don't even eat mass quantities of spinach in a can.
No one brought you spinach in a can.
Is Popeye your uncle?
Also, why wouldn't you? You eat cold beans on a train.
That's a good point, actually. That was ravioli.
That's ravioli.
Oh, raviolis.
Well, that was an episode.
It sure was.
We covered many, many books. We ranked them. We re-ranked them. Then we ranked them again.
We could not do more ranking.
This is the most books we've ever covered on an episode. So thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we've been nominated for a Pitch Award. So go to thepitch.com, find Arts and Entertainment, find First Issue Club, say, I like them the most, and get us to win. Make it 2 times.
If you live in Kansas City, I guess it doesn't matter.
Doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Does not
As
matter.
long as you have a valid email.
Yeah, and then vote for your favorite salon in Kansas City too.
Who are you voting for favorite salon?
Barry's Butchery. Barry's Barbershop.
Barry's Butchery. We'll make those. Fuck it. This episode's over.
Bye.
This has been another episode of First Issue Club. We are a proud member of the Fountain City Frequency family of podcasts. Our music is provided by Primary Color Music. We are recorded in KCUR Studios. You can find us, rate us, friend, and follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email, and your favorite listening platforms at First Issue Club, FIRST.